I'm not nice, and my kinks are anal sex, bondage, biting, blindfolds, breast and nipple torture, breath play, caning, candle wax, chains, dildos, electrotorture, enemas, fisting, hair pulling, handcuffs.
FetLife.com. Join today to start connecting with kinksters from around the world. Post pictures, join groups, start discussions, all at FetLife.com.
Rope, sadism, sex in public, shibari, spanking, spitting, suspension, talking dirty.
Welcome to Reality of Kink. This is Master Hook, and this is the second episode that I'm doing for this. I know that I'm going to be doing them infrequently. Apparently, I'll be doing other things. I'll be bringing on guest co-host and doing all this other stuff, but I felt that this was something I wanted to do because I'm still recovering from a very interesting weekend, specifically my Saturday, and what I did during Saturday night, 3 in the morning. It was a very long weekend, but amazing and enjoyable, and so many things that I thought the only way to really do it justice is get on this thing and record what my thoughts are. Just go through the weekend and just give my thoughts. And really, more of anything, I wanted to give the people who are listening, who have never been to a BDSM club or class or anything regarding BDSM, a real insight to what it really is about. It's not what most people think. I had just did on my YouTube channel a review for the movie Bound, and inside the movie they had 2 scenes inside of a BDSM club. And yeah, it was a club. There was dungeon equipment, and there was people, doing scenes that were very, very familiar to things I've seen in real life. But it completely missed the reality of the point of what going to a BDSM club is. So I wanted to go through the whole weekend, or the whole Saturday, because it was very intense and very, very unique and very satisfying, and tons of laughter and tons of experiences. This whole thing started not Saturday, but a while back. For several weeks now, I've been getting ready for this thing. I've been putting together plans and ideas and buying equipment and buying wax and buying this and that and the other things. Bought cups. I bought for fire cupping. I did a whole bunch of things. I spent a ton of time and ton of energy and, frankly, more money than I probably should have spent for what was one night. One night of just enjoyment. This is something that people who, when they see clubs, they think that we just show up and this is who we are and this is... No, we take time and energy to figure out what we're going to be doing. We plan out in our heads different scenes we want to do. Some people just show up and play. But even with that, they've spent hours practicing their flogging routines, learning how to do a proper flogging or a proper spanking. Or at this club, there was a gentleman who had a really extensive violent wand kit, and he spent basically the entire night doing violent wanding and electric play. For those who aren't initiated, spent the entire night doing it. And the thing is, you don't just show up out of the blue. You have to take time and energy, and you have to spend quality time and money getting ready for it. This is not just a simple lifestyle to show up and everything's great. No. You, even as a submissive, you have to be ready for what's going to happen, both physically and mentally. Whether it's the clothing that you're wearing, whether it's the way you're speaking, the way you're acting. There's all of these things that you have to be ready for before you walk in the door. And this is part of the fun of it. It's annoying on one respect, and it's really amazingly fun on another respect. But at the end of the day, when you walk in the door, and you walk in, you got your bag or your boxes or whatever it is that you're bringing your equipment in, you set it down, you walk around the club, you get a feeling for the club, and you get to absorb the energy of the room. And sometimes the energy is good, sometimes the energy is bad. Fortunately, this time the energy was pretty good. But I'll get into that later with a specific thing that happened. And I'm not meaning this to degrade the person I play with, but it was very specific. But let's go backwards. This started when we were told that there was going to be a party. We got an email, from the people who are hosting, that are running the party, telling us there was going to be a party. And of course, me and my girl offered to do a munch, and we did a munch and had several people show up. Some of them went to the club on the actual night, some of them didn't. If you've not been to a BDSM club, really the best thing you can do before you even think about going to a BDSM club, and I preach this over and over and over, is go to a munch. Go to a munch, sit down, talk to people, make friends, make acquaintances, because the more you do that, the better it's going to be in the long run. Because if you walk into a club and you don't know anybody, you're just going to be floundering around, and you're either going to wind up being, left alone, being, with nobody to play with, or you're going to wind up being meat that everybody wants to chew up and spit out. But the thing is that you always want to go into these type of parties knowing somebody, and if you're in like where I'm at, you need a sponsor. You need someone who's been there before and is already known and already trusted by the people who are running the party. And depending on where you're at in the country or in the world, in fact, because I know I have people from all over the world that wind up eventually listening to this, you really want to find somebody who's going to be able not only to just get you in, but can take you around and introduce you, and not just leave you alone and you're off in a corner just kind of being a voyeur, but really wanting to play. The thing is, you need to take the time to talk to people. So we held a munch. We wound up doing, this was the Sunday before, actually during when my Seattle Seahawks were playing. So that was interesting. And so we enjoyed it, and we had our munch. It was great. And then I spent the next week planning. And you can sit and make all kinds of great plans and great ideas and all of these things. But when you get to it, everything could fall apart. Everything could be, you have all this energy, you spent all this time, all this money, and you start doing the scene, the energy's wrong, everything's wrong, blah, blah, blah. So you have to be ready for anything. The term fuck it is something that has to be in your brain at any point. Fuck it, let's do it this way. Fuck it, let's do it that way. And on this night of this party, I did say that on many occasions. But as I got to the party, one of the things that was brought up to me was the idea of they were going to do for lack of a better word, a sampler, a carnival, you could call it whatever you want, but basically a bunch of different people, myself, another guy was doing suspension, the other guy who was doing electric play had his thing set up, another guy had a flogging demo set up, so I was doing fire cupping, somebody else was doing this, somebody was doing that, and that was really, really nice to do. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the people that I got to talk to, the people that I enjoyed showing and demonstrating on. There was a young, cute lesbian couple that I got to do this really cool little cupping where I did on the one girl. She had this tattoo that spiraled on her back, and I did a cup right in the center of the tattoo, so it looked like the tattoo was spiraling up into the cup with her flesh into it, and it was fun and amazing. But I broke the glass, and it was only $1. And I know that most people like, oh, it was only $1, but it sucked. It sucked because it was one of these things of I'm there trying to show the style and explain how it's done and why we do it and all of these other things, and a glass, because the glass falls off and breaks. Now keep in mind that we were in basically what was an old retail store that was colder than, everybody's nipples were popping out at that point. It was still cold. My glass was super cold, and so it wasn't functioning necessarily the way it should be. So I was just getting frustrated by it, and I wound up, because of that, I wound up losing a piece of glass. And it sucked. But, we laughed it off, and I continued, and I showed multiple different styles and multiple different things, and several different people are, probably going to wind up getting into cupping because of this little thing I did. And it was awesome. And then we went out to eat. There was between the two classes, between what we did and then the next class, we went out to eat. And we went to this little sports bar across the way from where the event was held, and we sat around and laughed. It was a group of like eight or nine of us, and we were in this sports bar restaurant style place, and we just were all sitting around the table laughing and joking and throwing kinky concepts back and forth and really enjoying just being around each other. And the energy that was there was all positive, and there was no negativity in it. Everything was just good, and we all left enjoying life. And that's something you don't see a lot when it comes to people who are talking about this lifestyle. They don't see that we enjoy the hell out of doing this. We enjoy doing things and talking about things that make other people squirmish. And that's fun for us. And there was a couple things that happened that I really don't want to get into, but it was really, really, really fun. Afterwards, we went back over, and there was a class on tantric sex. And anybody who knows me knows that I am not a person who enjoys the mumbo-jumbo, whatever you want to call it, mysticism of something that is really basic and simple. And I enjoyed the class. I did. Every time the words chakra and third eye and your heart chakra and there's a blockage and this and that and this and that were up, I just kind of was rolling my eyes, just going, really? And I was listening to what she was doing. As somebody who enjoys and does guided meditation and hypnosis, I was sitting there watching what she was doing, and just basically everything in my head was going, I do that without even calling it that. My girl was sitting next to me, and she was like, you can have a whole body orgasm. And my girl was like trying to not laugh, because we do that without having to open our chakras and do this and do that and all this other, whatever you want to call it, just by doing by me talking and doing the hypnosis and me doing the playing it with properly through meditation and through all of the other things I do, I can make her orgasm simply by saying the word orgasm. And that's one of the things that you never hear these people talking about. It's not about some mystical, magical this or that. It's simply the mind lying or tricking itself in a way that is, which is ultimately meant to be positive. And it was just kind of one of these things of, I'm sitting there going, okay, they did this whole thing about staring into each other's eyes and trying to move energy. Completely understood it. Does not need to have anything mystical. Circular breathing, where as you breathe in, I breathe out, and we go back and forth. That's creating. All that is creating a meditative, hypnotic trance state by doing controlled breathing. It's nothing spectacular or different than anything that I do. I just don't add the mystical elements to it. And so the class goes on, and it was enjoyable, and everything was good, and nothing, and nothing earth-shaking or thing. And I'm sitting there going, okay, well, that's nothing new. But, you want to throw mystical names on it, great, that's fine. And it was just kind of one of those things of just confirming a lot of things I already knew about it without really even knowing it. And, yeah, I might have some people going, but it's not like that, it's not like this, and you want to scream and yell at me, that's fine. But the bottom line is, it is what it is, and I know, I can read past all the bullshit, and it's still enjoyable, and still, if you do it, but take away all of the, all of the BS elements of it, it winds up being something really great and fun and spectacular without all of the BS elements. So, the night goes forward. By this time, it's already probably 7 o'clock. We're about an hour from when the orientation is supposed to happen. So I spend that time prepping the play space I'm going to be with tonight, and I set up a dual PlayStation for wax play and knife play, and I had one table which I pretty much cannibalized for the night, and then there was another one if other people wanted to use it, and I set up my wax rig, and I set up all of my my fireplace stuff, and all of these things, and it was really fun, and really get it all laid out, and I'm really good, and I have to spend the first hour DMing Dungeon Monitor. And I honestly can say, I needed that time. I needed that time to relax, to watch other people play, to watch the flogging scene that was going on, to watch the electric play that was happening, some suspension that was happening. There was another scene going on in another place. There was all of these things going on, and I was just enjoying it, and enjoying the energy, and enjoying what was going on. And afterwards, my girl got done doing what she was doing at the door. 9 o'clock rolls around, 9:30 rolls around, 10 o'clock, I'm done. She's done. It's time to play. Back over to my station. Wax, mostly melted. Not ready yet. And I'm frustrated. Because I wanted to play. I wanted to do it. And that's when the first fuck it moment came. I'd already had planned to do wax. I'd already had planned to do the thing, but I'd also had an opportunity to do a flogging on a person who wasn't my girl, on someone else, and I really wanted to do it because I hadn't flogged in public a real decent flogging scene in 4 years, 5 years. I never had the opportunity. I was at clubs, but I never got the opportunity. I was at play parties or I was at events and just never got the opportunity. And so here was my opportunity. And so thinking, okay, the wax is still going. I've got time. Let me go grabbed the girl and said, okay, let's go and do this. Negotiation was almost nothing. She had almost never had a flog. She had said she had been flogged, but apparently she wasn't. I found that out afterwards. And I was told something right before that kind of I wish I didn't know, because it kind of played with my mind in a way that I think kind of made me not enjoy the scene as much. To the point of I'm playing and I'm throwing out all this energy with all of these strikes. Light strikes, medium strikes, a couple heavy strikes. I'm going, all over the back. I'm on the ass. I'm doing a couple side wraps. I'm doing a little bit of everything, and I'm just getting no return. I'm throwing out, it's like literally throwing money out, out of your pocket and getting nothing back. And it wasn't the person's fault. I'm not going to say it was. I'm saying that there was something about her that I think that the way we were playing, I wasn't getting the reaction that I wanted or that she really could do. I just don't think that a thud type of a flogger was necessarily what needed to be done with her. I should have brought one of my other ones. Get in mind, I had absolutely no plans of flogging or doing any other kind of scenes, and there's a couple scenes that I had established before everything. I wasn't planning on it. So here it is. I'm, flogging, and I'm like, it's like 10 minutes into it, and I'm just like, okay, I'm done. There's nothing. I mean, 5 minutes into it, I'm so not into it. I drop my flogger. I drop it. It flies out of my hand. That never happens to me. Ever, 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 ever in my life does that happen to me. And I just sat there, just kind of dumbfounded when I was picking it up, going, oh my God, this is just not working. This is just not working at all for me. Now, I don't know what's going on with her. Afterwards, we talked and everything. She seemed to enjoy it and everything, and we're probably going to do it again, but we're going to change it up, and we'll probably bring a stingy flogger. But there was I didn't get what I needed out of it. And if you don't know what I mean, you just have to go through these experiences. You have to go through these type of plays where you're all excited and you're putting all this energy into it and nothing comes out of it. Meanwhile, I just like, okay, fine. I'm just going to end this. I get to a point, I'm going to do it. I pull in, I tell her I'm going to do 10 more to count them, to herself, so she knows when it's going to end. And I go and I do light, medium, and then the last two very hard. Scene's over. Go up, grab her, hold her, try to, do some basic aftercare. That lasts for like a minute or two. We wipe off the piece and walk away, and immediately my mind is going, wow, I just wish, there was just it wasn't there. And it was disappointing. It was disappointing on multiple respects. And again, not her fault, but I was disappointed in myself. I was disappointed in what I did. I was disappointed in the whole situation. And I just walked away just like, okay, I need to do something. I need to do something that I know I can just blow out of the water and go and do something awesome. So I go back to the station thinking, by now the wax is done, the wax is ready, everything's ready to go, and I get there and it's not ready. The building was still cold. It's January. It's the end of towards the end of January, but it's still January. And inside of this big warehouse of a storefront type of a thing, it's still cold. The heaters are going. We got little electric heaters all over the place, and it's kind of taking the chill off the air, but it's cold enough that it's still screwing with my wax. I just like, okay, fuck it. Fuck it. I'm doing fire play. And so I do. And I had a blast. I'm doing 3 or 4 different styles of fire play all at one time. I take some forceps with the cotton balls, and I'm doing waving it the wand style over, and then I'm doing runs, and then I'm just doing dry runs with the alcohol and lighting it, and I'm just doing all of these things, and I'm having a great time. I'm going all over body. I'm doing these amazing things to a point where I had to jump on her twice just to put out the big fires that I was setting on her back. I was enjoying the hell out of myself doing this, and I was doing it, and I was enjoying it, and at the very end, I go and grab my big fire torch. And this thing is massive. And, I mean, when I light it, the flame that comes off of it jumps off of it 2 feet. And I'm like, okay, I'm going for this. I'm in a groove. I'm having fun. The energy from her is amazing. Every time I would do something, I'd get a little bit back. And I'd do something more to get a little bit back. And I hit, go and I, tap with it, with my little fire torch, get something back. And I'm like, this is awesome. I'm ready to finish. I grab the big fire torch. I light it up. And it lights up the space. And I'm just doing drum beat. Bang, wipe, bang, wipe, bang, wipe. And it's every time it would leave just a little bit of alcohol. There'd be flames coming off of it. And it was just amazingly enjoyable. I had a fucking blast. And finally get done, blow out my torch, sit my girl up, I hug her, and the energy between the two of us was, it was amazing. And it was just the start of this whole thing. Because I have a whole bunch of shit left to do with her. And I'm like, if this is good, the next is going to be better. So we take a break. Go get something to drink, wander around. Meanwhile, one of our friends, female dom, had brought one of her little toys over, and this big, 6-foot-plus guy, pretty decent in shape, totally naked, and had a gaggle of little females who wanted to try wax play, brought him over, put him on the table, started doing the wax play, and he couldn't handle it. He couldn't handle the wax being poured on him from 3 or 4 feet above him. So they had to, we're laughing our asses off at this guy and the whole situation, and everybody's having a good time. And that's the one of the main things I wanted to bring up. One of the things you never see when it comes to people doing anything about BDSM clubs is we laugh. We enjoy ourselves. We're having fun. We're having great conversations. We're making fun of people. We're making fun of ourselves. We're laughing at the scene going on where the person is jumping because they're getting electrocuted, and they're enjoying themselves. And this is something you never see. No one ever does that. You don't ever see the reality of these clubs and the people that go to them. And so we're all there having fun. We're still taking a break between things. So we're about a half hour out, from when I finished the fire play. And that's when my next fuck it moment comes. I'm like, fuck it. I am tired of waiting for this wax. I am just going to go for it. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, great. And I had planned to do a pride flag with the wax. And for some reason, just because of the coldness of the air, all of the different things that was going on. It literally was to a point where I have done this kind of wax play multiple times, probably 100+ times, and I've never had these issues. And that's when I got to a point of just going back to my next fuck it moment, where I just said, fuck it, I'm going to Jackson Pollock it. So I laid it down in the order that white on the bottom, blue, black, sprinkling of blues, sprinkling of black, topped it with red, and by the time I was done, the wax on her was at least an eighth to a quarter of an inch thick. And not once did she bitch, complain, moan. It was the standard, the good little oohs and ahs and sighs and little body movement when I was doing it, and it was great. Meanwhile, across from us, a couple more people laid down to get wax, and every time even a little drop of wax hit their skin, it was just them flailing like nobody's business. So it was fun watching these people, these men, these strong, muscular men, and these little these men on the floor flinching at the mere drop of wax. And here's my girl being doused, her entire back from her neck all the way down to the crack of her ass, covered in hot wax, and hotter than what these guys have to deal with, because my wax wasn't melting properly, so I had to turn up the temperature. So we're working, probably 150, 175. These guys are probably 130, 140, and they're flinching like they're being set on fire every time that this happens, and my girl's just sitting there enjoying it. And I'm just like, I am such a proud person at that moment, to the point where somebody, they were making fun of the guys doing some little bit of humiliation, going, you're sitting here flopping around. Well, she must be tougher than you because she can take all that. And it was fun and amazing. And at the very end, if you do knife play right, you get to do knife play. And I brought out my knife, and I just enjoyed myself. I cut out a little bit of sliver, a piece of it, and I saved it. And it's sitting on the shelf on my wall, on a thing on my wall over here. And I got this beautiful piece of memory that will be with me for as long as I want to keep that piece of wax. The rest of the wax, I'm going to remelt and pour on her again. Why not? It's fun. I get to do this again. And I get to do it and enjoy myself again. But the thing is that that's the main thing that people don't understand, is we enjoy ourselves. And so I'm slowly taking my time to cut the wax off. Slowly taking my time to do what I do. And her back by this point has a nice redness from the heat, has some scratch marks from the knife. I mean, it was so fun and so awesome. And so I set the wax piece aside and clear off the table so that other people can use it, and walk away. And I'm just, we go and find some chairs, and we sit and we cuddle a little bit and relax, and we're, watching other people play and stuff. Meanwhile, the friend of ours, the dom who was leading the wax play beside us, she decided that she wanted a bottom. And I love doing wax play or fire play. I pride myself on the skills that I have, and also I pride myself on the knowledge that I have for cupping, the different styles of cuppings that I know, the different levels, to know, what, you know, the difference between a 70% and a 90% alcohol, what it can do and what it can't do. Same thing with fire play, with what a 70% alcohol versus a 90% alcohol can do. There's variations what you can do, depends on what you're doing, what you're trying to do, and all of that other stuff. Meanwhile, I don't usually get to see other people play with it. I don't get to see other people play with cups. I don't get to see people play with fire. And our friend decided she wanted a bottom to someone who was going to cup her and fire play with her. And so it was an opportunity to sit and watch and see how somebody else does it. It felt like I was watching somebody who was too cocky for their own good. Again, this individual, amazing person. I have not had very much interaction with him, and in fact, the only interaction I had with him that night felt like he was blowing me off. Felt like that he did the exact opposite of what I would have done, which is actually stopped and engaged with the person that had came up and asked me questions. He pretty much blew me off and, kind of gave me half-hearted answers and was acting like I didn't know what I was talking about and stuff like that. Which to me means that he wasn't paying attention to what was going on in the club the entire night. He was focused on his little world and his little universe, and I think that's really not the best way to be when you're at a club. You should be paying attention, looking at other people, seeing if you can learn something. And there was a couple minor things I did learn from him, and a couple things that I sat and went, really? Really? That's what you're doing? He did these fire runs on top of the massage table that first off, he would blow the fire out. If his blowing didn't work, then he would come back with his hands. I personally like wiping it out with my hands, but I also don't wipe it towards things like hair. He did. He blew fire towards hair. Twice. One time was when he had her on her back and had cups, and he was doing fire play in between the cups. Really think that's a bad idea. It looks cool. Bad idea. Those should be things that are separated. One, separated from each other, because the thing is that if you are doing fire play in between cups and your only method is to blow it out, your primary method is to blow it out, by the time that you realize you can't blow it out and you get your hand in there, you burnt them. And yes, he was using a lower alcohol, so the chances of him burning were lower, but my thing is, you're playing with fire, fucking play with a higher end shit. I'm sorry. If you're a newbie, yeah, maybe start with a 70. I personally I only like playing with 90 because it just does more for me. But I'm watching him, and the first time he did it while he was doing the cups, he blew the fire out and caught the short hairs on the back of her neck on fire. Not really the greatest thing. Later on, he was playing with her where she was on her front, and he was, doing, I don't know why he didn't fucking cup her front. It just makes no sense where he didn't, he wasn't cupping. He said he cupped her twice for very short periods of time, and the way he was pulling them off, there was almost zero suction inside, zero vacuum inside of the cups. So I'm sitting here just going, well, what was the point of that? She literally had no marks from it the next day, which means that there was almost no suction inside of the cups to begin with. And I'm watching him play, and he already had caught her hair on fire once. And then as he's going on, he does it again where he blows the fire into her hair, and she has long hair. And he said something that pissed me off. Just really pissed me off. The thing is that if you know human hair, regardless if you put product in your hair or you don't put product in your hair, whether it's clean, whether it's dirty, it is one of the most flammable substances on the planet Earth. Literally, just a little tiny get too close to fire and it goes. and he blew fire towards it. And I'm like, if this guy is going to claim to be good at it, and I'm not going to say master of it, but good at it, he should know never, ever, ever wipe, blow, whatever the fuck your style is, fire towards hair. That hurt. She should have had her tie it up and make sure that it was out of the way. But he didn't. He was being too fancy. Also, he did something that just made me just go, what? She wanted to be tied to the table because she has a tendency when she's bottoming to be loud and to move around a lot. She didn't want to do that when she was, being set on fire, and I absolutely think that's a, right idea. Instead, he calls one of the little riggers, one of the new, almost like apprentice-y riggers over, and calls him a rope bitch. I'm sorry, but that's not respectful. That's not respectful at all in any way, shape, or form. And that, to me, shows the lack of respect that this person has for others. And he might have been saying it jokingly. He might have been saying it whatever. But first off, she had rope. She has her own rope. He should have had enough wherewithal around him to tie her. And then not only to tie her, but to actually tie it so she couldn't move, which she did. She could flip completely over. Her legs were flailing. Her arms were semi-flailing. She had to tell him to move the little table in front of the PlayStation so she wouldn't knock it over. She firmly admitted that she was moving around so much she almost tipped over the table. But he was so concerned about doing his little cute fire runs and doing all of these things and blowing it out and being cute and all this other stuff that his style, it wasn't, to me, what my style is more of a deliberate style, a more elegant style, a more classical music to his almost punk rock. They're both music. They're both something that if you take your time and energy, you can play. But somebody who does classical takes a lot more time and energy and masters the elements that he's playing, the instruments that he's playing, and he prides himself on knowing how to do all of these types of play, all of, where all the notes are with all of the things. Where punk rock is, 4 chords. And that's what it felt like. And I know that if, he heard this, or other people who were his friends heard this, they probably think I'm just being jealous or whatever. No, fuck that. I am somebody who is somebody who wants things to be done a certain way. And when it comes to things like fire, there is a very specific way of doing things. Safety, 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 safety. If you're not about safety first, you're not doing it right. And yeah, he had a fire extinguisher where I don't have a fire extinguisher. He had a fire retardant blanket where I don't have a fire retardant blanket. But the fire extinguisher was so far away and on the other side of the table, by the time he would have got it, she would have already had third-degree burns. By the time he got to the blanket, she would have already had third-degree burns. They were there for show. Not for reality. Not for actual use. But for show. I know when I'm playing with fire, I know that if things get out of control, the first thing I have to do is smother it. And the best thing you could smother it with is your own damn body. And if you're not willing to jump on top and smother that fire, what the fuck is the use of a fire extinguisher or a fire blanket? It makes absolutely no sense at all. And I think that by doing that, by having that stuff there, it makes people feel good that you know what you're doing, even though you're playing in a very unsafe manner. And I know, again, there's going to be people that are going to hear this who are going to be listening, that might listen to this who are, at the party and are going to disagree with it. But this is from somebody who's been doing it for 20 years, who knows where the safety is. And to me, everything is about safety first, safety first. We are playing with things that can ruin people's lives. Safety, safety, safety. So, it was just frustrating. And basically when they, but at the end, I'm sitting there going, I'm still on a high from everything I'm doing. And after that's done, things get calmed down and everything. And my girl, asked if I wanted a flogger. And I'm like, yes. Yes. Absolutely. Tell her to go grab the flogger. We make sure the station's okay. Make sure there's no one using it. And in the night, doing one of the best, simple flogging scenes I have ever done. Take off my leather vest. I just have on a t-shirt. She's completely naked. Again, against the cross. She grabs the little handles. They had some suspension cuffs with handles, so she just grabbed the cuffs. And I start flogging her. Lightly hitting certain parts, going in, touching, moving, just the flow of energy just was going back and forth. I'd go in little heavy strike and then a couple light little strikes and back and forth, and it was just a dance. And towards the end of it, I'm sitting there just enjoying it. Everything that I did wrong on the first one was right here. Everything that was not right on the first one was right here. All of the energy was flowing back and forth, feeling it. Every time the strike, I feel it coming back, and I feel it just going back and forth. And I know this is going to sound, again, like, I just spent the whole thing screaming about the tantric sex and, the gobbledygook there, and this sounds like gobbledygook now, and whatever. But the reality is that this is one of the things that the energy exchange is the core of BDSM. And I'm sitting there doing it, and I'm just like, I'm feeling an energy that I know and I've read a million times. My girl's about to have an orgasm. So I go up to her, and I get close to her, and I'm literally, my hand is like a half an inch to an inch above her skin, and just every time I would just move it, she would jump like I had just hit her. Just like the flogger, I come in really close, and it was just like the flogger was hitting her, and then she was just right on that verge. And I try, and I grab her, I turn around, I hold her tight, and I just say yes, and I have to hold her because her body collapses in my arms. It just collapses. And the beauty of it is, it just was one of these things. It wasn't subspace. It definitely was an orgasm, but it was intense and beautiful. And it took 15, 20 minutes for her to come back to reality. And when we finally got back and we were time to leave, and we're thinking, she's still buzzing and still has the energy going and everything, and we get everything in the car, and we're going, we're driving down the road, and her mind is barely there, so I'm having to say something. We were driving down the freeway where there's a part of the freeway that we drive down that you can drive like 80 miles an hour. She was not paying attention and was coming on to the on-ramp after we went and got some drinks from McDonald's, and she was almost going 100 miles an hour. And I had to go, you might want to slow down, because her mind wasn't there. She was still feeling it from the entire night. Her back, because from the fire play to the wax play, the flogging, everything that had happened, it wound up that it led her to this spot where she was just out there. We finally get home. Finally go upstairs. We turn, I turn on the TV, there's some cartoons or something on. Set the timer for bed. Now, you mind that I don't live with her, but I did crash at her house. And when we went to bed that night, I was holding her in my arms. She was, I was cuddling, my chest against her back, and it was one of the best night's sleep I have ever had. Especially one of the best night's sleeps I've had in a very long time. This is what a good play night should be. That you end the night feeling good and happy and fulfilled. And for some people that happened. So some people, they left frustrated. Some people, left wanting somebody to cuddle and had no one to cuddle with. Some people left going home and having one of the best fuck sessions of their entire life. This is truly what a club is like. This is truly what a club should be like. And if you ever get a chance to experience this, please do. It's totally, it's totally worth it if you're willing to put in the time and the energy and the thought process and actually not worry about it. Not worry about, this person looks this way and that person looks that way. My girl looked amazing that night before I stripped her, in her leather corset and leather skirt, and it was just satisfying. The whole night and the whole evening, the whole day. And again, this is what a real club feeling should be like. Highs and lows, goods and bads. And if you leave feeling awesome, you did it right. If you don't feel that way leaving, do it again. You'll get there. So, anyways, I've been rambling for way too long. I hope you got something out of this. I hope that you got a sense of what a real BDSM club was like, what the real BDSM lifestyle is like. And if you got any questions or you got anything, hit me up on FetLife, just Masterhook YT on Fet. Email me, masterhookyt@gmail.com, and or leave a comment on my YouTube, on this video, when I turn this into a video for YouTube, and take it from there. But that's it. As I say always, be well and safe.